Hey there, this is episode 99 of the first 10 minutes. I'm Tony Parmenter.
I'm Steve Helliwell.
And I'm Aaron Williams.
And this is a video games podcast where we play the first 10 minutes of a video game. Then we sit down here to discuss how well that game communicates itself to the player, both in terms of what the game is about and how to play the game. And in response to our latest listener poll, which you can find at the first 10 minutes on Twitter, you, the listeners, voted for us to play South Park, The Fractured But Whole. Steve, you played aforementioned game. Take it away.
I did. All right, so I played this video game. Wikipedia can tell us some things about...
We're not repeating the title, are we?
No, we'll hold off on that for a minute. And we have to say it a bunch of times in this description text. So we'll get through it, and then we'll have a chuckle at the joke.
I'm sure we'll chuckle a bunch.
Yeah. Wikipedia says, South Park, The Fractured But Whole, is a role-playing video game developed and published by Ubisoft in collaboration with South Park Digital Studios. The sequel to South Park, The Stick of Truth, is based on the American adult animated television series South Park and written by the series creator, Trey Parker.
Yeah.
It had a worldwide release on Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on October 17th, 2017. So, straight off the bat, sick burn to Matt Stone.
Yeah, a little bit, right? He did VO for this one only.
Apparently. Now, this is where it gets contentious.
Okay.
Steam.
Oh, this is where it gets contentious.
Yep. So early, the controversy starting early with South Park. Not afraid to shy away from controversy. Their Steam entry contradicts the Wikipedia facts. From the creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, comes South Park, The Fractured But Whole,
ethical.
a sequel to 2014's award-winning South Park, The Stick of Truth. It's also worth noting that they are not sure whether "but" should be capitalized or not.
Another point of contention.
Yes.
I have a question for you, Steve. Perhaps a suggestion for your cursory Googling this episode. Could you do some cursory Googling and discover whether the last edit on that Wikipedia article was to remove Matt Stone and the edit was made by Trey Parker?
That would be pretty good. I can check that for you later.
Matt Stone.
Just like, I saw the
taking my name off this.
All right, so this says the continuing story of the Steam overview says players will once again resume the role of the new kid and join South Park favorites Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman in a new hilarious and outrageous RPG adventure. It goes on.
I love how it has to clarify that they're favorites.
They're your favorites.
It's an Alan Smithy game.
The four protagonists.
Yeah.
An Alan Smithy game, right?
Sure.
That's that's it.
Nice.
It goes on to tell us that in this game, players will dive into the crime-ridden underbelly of South Park with Coon and friends. This dedicated group of crime fighters was formed by Eric Cartman, whose superhero alter ego, the Coon, is half man, half raccoon. As the new kid, players will join Mysterion, Toolshed, Human Kite, and a host of others to battle the forces of evil, while Coon strives to make his team the most beloved superheroes in history. So, that's a very long intro about this game.
It is.
Yes, it is.
So let's quickly get through what genre this video game is in.
Oh, good. My favorite part.
Oh, no.
It's an RPG, comedy, dark humor, funny, superhero single-player, mature, memes, adventure, nudity, cartoon, story-rich, turn-based satire, action, open-world 2D, Illuminati, atmospheric, sexual content game.
Beautiful.
Not a great soundtrack.
Apparently not. Not Primus fans here.
No. Okay, so I load the game up. I hit new game. If you'd like to watch the 10 minutes, they will be available on YouTube. There will be a link in the description text of the thing that you're listening to.
Yeah.
Wowie.
I hit go. We're doing a new game. I get a loading screen. I get a tooltip. Don't get too excited, Tony.
Yes. Oh.
This tooltip says, never fart on someone's balls. That's it. That's all I get told.
That seems very declarative. Like there aren't
Starters
any
never say never.
circumstances. Yeah, weird. Can I ask a question,
You
Steve?
can go.
Does it feel like they're making fun of game tooltips?
Possibly. I honestly don't know if there are other tooltips other than this one for the entirety of the video game. However,
Okay.
they do have a dig at the autosave icon earlier that I didn't bother making
Right.
note of.
Okay.
But it is sarcastic about the autosave icon.
Right.
Yes, during the mandatory, the presumably no longer mandatory but still prevalent. Please don't turn off your computer while this
Right,
icon
okay.
is on screen.
Yeah.
So I hit new game. I have a full minute of studio cards.
What?
Yep. An entire,
How many studios are there?
Well, let me tell you, off the top of my head, if I can remember how many branches of
As
Ubisoft work on
follows.
this.
Right.
I did not write them down, so off the top of my head, after rewatching my footage earlier today, it's an Ubisoft game.
Yep.
Ubisoft San Francisco were involved.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's another Ubisoft branch as well.
Okay.
Ubisoft Osaka.
Thank you. And there is South Park Digital Creative Studios, I
Yep.
believe is the title.
Yep.
So after all of these get a slow wipe and fade and turn into particles as they disappear, eventually I get my premise. So
Can you skip any of them?
I wasn't willing to press a button because it looks like it's just running one long video.
Right. Okay.
I
sure.
didn't
Yeah, so
try
the-
because I didn't want to look. Yeah.
If I could offer, so I've reviewed the footage, and it's very much sort of like it's mimicking the opening of a dramatic superhero film or a dramatic
Yes.
action film.
Okay.
And so while it takes a minute because it needs to run through all of the different vanity cards,
Right.
it feels aesthetically of the entirety of the experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's setting up the tone of like the intro to a Marvel movie, right?
Yep.
Except the title cards are less elaborate.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and with no Michael Giacchino score.
So we get our premise. We get narration from Cartman, who is the fat one, if you've forgotten, who is lamenting the state of the city, and he's doing this in a sort of Batman inner monologue style. In fact, perhaps more Rorschach than Batman,
Right.
That's a fair assessment.
but without as quite as much gruff.
Right.
And with more grammar as well.
Yeah. So he is lamenting that the city has no justice anymore. He laments that the cats are not safe. There's no justice. This is on a slow pullout of a missing cat $100 reward sign.
Right.
He laments that their superhero team and the other superhero team are no longer getting along,
Oh no.
and that the only way to solve this is to go back in time and prevent it from happening. There is one bit in this intro cutscene that I enjoyed, is where we get a dramatic upwards shot where Cartman jumps onto the roof of a car in a superhero pose.
Right.
While he's elaborating, he says, "We were supposed to protect those who couldn't protect themselves." And the person who's in the car looks up at him and says, "Get off my car, you little pecker." So I quite enjoyed that part, which I think we'll probably come back to a couple of times. There's similar things that crop up.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's
'cause
set
I have
up.
a- I
I've
have a question
condensed.
about that.
He also is sort of flipping through a tome that looks like it's written in some ancient, indecipherable language, which looks to be the book that would be retelling the previous game. So he says there was a book that told of a powerful kingdom united, etc., and that is where he's going to go back in time and try and solve this problem with.
Right.
That is about a minute and a half, that intro. That gives you my premise of Cartman going, air quotes, back in time. He just walks into his closet and closes the door and opens again. And I get to my character creator. Now, I did my best to move through this character creator briskly.
Right.
I think I still probably spent about a minute and a half in it. So the character creator opens and we have like a glass punch-out overlay on the screen, and I have a bald child, I'm assuming, in a red cape with a grey shirt with red gloves on, and they are bald. And so my options here are sub-menus to click into of hair, makeup, facial hair, eyewear, clothes, and hands. So I went through those and I changed some stuff. I ended up making a child with a grey cape, a grey shirt, dark green gloves, long hair, and glasses.
Was there anything in specific you were going for there, Steve, or just sort of picking whatever?
No, I was just sort of flipping through, seeing some options. If I wasn't trying to move quickly for my 10 minutes, this is probably where I would have stayed for most of my 10 minutes.
Right, okay.
Finding a character that I really enjoyed.
For a moment there, I thought you were going for a Futurama neutral planet style character.
I did enjoy choosing the least superhero-y colors I could think of.
Yeah.
I very much have the look of, this is just what Mum told me to wear because I was going outside and it was snowing, rather than I'm off to save the world, which I like.
In lieu of a cape, you have a tea towel.
Yeah. Or it's just like grandma's shawl or something.
I'd say that woolen thing with that slightly intricate but kind of crappy pattern.
So when I move over to confirm this, and this is where it asks me to choose my difficulty, which is that thing you've seen in all of the press, where your choose difficulty slider is actually your skin tone.
Yes.
Which is like, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm sure there are people who are more educated on this area who've probably said way better things than we're going to say about it.
Well, as somebody who only just heard about it now because I haven't been paying any attention to this,
sure,
I can tell you that my response is, what other context do they give you?
For what? You hit basically create, and it moves all your other options out. It brings up the text, choose difficulty, and there is a slider that goes from white skin tone to olive to black.
Is the slider labelled?
The slider is labelled choose difficulty, and I believe it has like light to dark on the bottom of it. I don't recall if it has any other.
So if I can jump in quickly here, there is context that's provided beneath that says something to the tune. I'm paraphrasing here. There is no mechanical or statistical disadvantage that you receive here. Just every other aspect of your life gets harder.
Yeah.
So it's there purely to make a comment and doesn't actually affect the state of the game?
It's unclear in my 10 minutes. It's unclear beyond that. I believe an actual rep from Ubisoft commented on Twitter of like, no, it does change nothing other than that it's just there for us to, depending on how you read it, I guess it's there to make this joke / make this statement, depending on how you want to read it. I don't know how to take it. I kind of didn't think about it too hard because I was in a hurry.
So I'll preface this by saying this is entirely my own opinion, but I think this falls into the same camp as South Park and most of what South Park does, being unable to take a side on subjects.
Right.
By simply sitting on a fence and highlighting things, but with it making no actual legitimate comment about them. Which is not necessarily a terrible thing or a fantastic thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
So you're sitting on the fence about the fence sitting?
Yeah. No, I have a very clear opinion on it. That if you want to go and find my actual personal channels, you can definitely find out what I really think about it. But for the purpose of radio and large broadcast, and the fact that we're operating underneath a banner called The First 10 Minutes and not the Aaron Williams Opinion Corner, we'll continue on with the remainder of this podcast.
Sure.
I think it's bullshit.
Okay, cool.
Moving on.
So the thing that I did make a note of to call out to talk about here is, and this is really shitty given the context that we just talked about, so let's pretend that we had a better conversation just then, so that I can have this one now.
Yeah, okay, good.
It breaks their menu flow and their menu layout for the purpose of this joke.
Yep.
Because once you've selected this, it takes you back to the previous screen, and it's just added choose difficulty on the left-hand side. It's inserted it basically between facial hair selection and eyewear selection.
Yep.
Which I found really bizarre in terms of the way the menu flows. Because it's already told me to like confirm this is my character, and now it dumps me back here again after I've made a change. It just felt really odd to me. Yeah.
I think I'm getting a slow formulation of my opinion on this general topic, but I might just circle back to it if and when
we can come back to it, certainly.
Fully formed. Yep.
Sure.
So just to stay here in the potentially awkward topics area, there's something that I'm not sure how I feel about either that comes up from this. Once I've done that, I hit create, and I have my character, and it's going to move on. It's going to show me a new cutscene. But so in this section, I haven't been asked to choose the gender of my character in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So there is hair that in South Park world tells you whether a character would be male or female. Like if you look at a lineup of South Park characters, there are stylistic choices they make about what tells you whether one of the children is meant to be a little boy or a little girl.
Yep.
And I can choose from any of these things. But it never makes me call out what I want my choice to be. And inside of my 10 minutes, they always call me New Kid or the King or my liege.
Or dude.
Or dude sometimes, yeah. So I'm not sure what to make of it. I'm not sure if this is intentional. I stalled for a moment and went, that's potentially a cool thing they're doing here. But I kind of threw that out when the next scene started.
Right.
I do have a post 10 minutes answer to that if you want.
Yeah.
So there is a point further on down in the game from what I've read. I haven't actually played this, but there is a submission that involves you being asked to Mr. Mackey's office where he asks for your gender. And that is where you can choose to identify however you wish to.
Okay.
After which point, it starts to enter into some pretty deeply problematic content. But there's an article on Waypoint that you can read that specifically talks about this in a way that would be far better than the three of us discussing it.
Cool.
I'm just going to look it up, and I'll let you know at the end of the episode.
Okay.
Are you saying that a written, measured response where you have time to think is better than three people talking off the cuff?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That sounds like a pretty fair assessment to me.
And undermining our format, but all right.
Well, we can talk like I mean, games analysis, tutorial analysis, narrative design analysis is what we can do quickly in the moment.
Hey, here's a thought. I mean, we could just keep recording for 7 hours and then cut it down to the 3 minutes. That's nice and concise.
Let's not do that.
Sure.
Let's all go to bed at a reasonable hour.
So the next cutscene I get is zooming in on South Park. It is the street outside their house. It tells me that it is 1627 AD, so the children are having a medieval fight. And the text is papyrus, which, yep.
Is that? Do you think that's self-aware?
I totally do.
Yeah. Okay.
Including the terrible kerning on this D in AD.
I'm gonna duck in right now because I've finally formulated my feedback in a nice, concise fashion.
All right.
It's irreverent, but it's not illuminating, and that's why I don't like it.
Okay.
Yep.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
I think
it's not illuminating. It's not insightful. It's only irreverent.
Yes.
Yep.
I think that goes for a lot of when South Park touches on those kind of topics.
Yep.
It's there to simply point at it.
Right.
With little else to be there, and sometimes that is you want more from them. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Anyway, bad kerning.
You want
bad kerning. You said.
Yeah. So
kerning.
Yeah, I have a screenshot of it, so I would remember to talk about the papyrus, and it's really bothering me. So we're zooming in on the children battling in the street in front of these houses.
Yep.
they're fighting with sticks that have like presumably they're meant to be like swords and spears.
Are any of them truthful sticks?
They don't appear to be.
Aha.
All right.
So we appear to be battling in front of two of the children's houses. Presumably one
So
of them
this is
is
a
Cartman.
prequel?
No. See, this is like
Have we gone back to before the beginning of the game, but not in a prequel fashion?
but no. As I understand it, this is still after the end of the previous game.
Okay.
There is an episode of South Park that is apparently the intro for the game that I haven't seen that maybe would provide more context. But this seems like it's just picking up where the previous game ended.
Okay.
Sure. It would have been nice for the box to say forced transmedia experience.
I don't think you need it, and I think that's probably something to talk about during and after the sort of the overview.
Sure.
So the children are screaming, they're having the battle. There's like elaborate kind of it's a mix of like a superhero movie and a Lord of the Rings soundtrack happening.
Right, okay.
And the children are screaming about the Moorish attacking, which I recognize the term, but I wasn't sure why. So I've Googled it. And it was just further confused.
Because Moorish is an adjective for something that you would desire more of.
Well, yes, but the term the Moors I've heard in other media as well.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure where. And I think maybe it was even like civilization or something. I don't know now.
Well, they were a real thing.
Yes, they are. I
Moors.
Googled them. The term the Moors refers to the Muslim inhabitants of the Maghreb. I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry.
Yep.
The Iberian Peninsula, Sicily, and Malta during the Middle Ages.
Yep.
It says that they were initially the Berber sort of like indigenous peoples. But later this was also applied to Arabs generally, apparently. But so clearly these two sides have taken up some sort of ancient medieval setting of battle that they're playing out. So that's happening. That's happening outside. We're sort of zooming in to a house. Yep.
Sorry to keep interrupting, but I thought my general knowledge might be inaccurate, so I had to look it up. Othello was a Moor.
Okay.
Yep. So that might be where you've heard it before.
Yeah, I could recognize the term as something I had encountered before, but I wasn't sure why.
And Moorish is, in fact, the designate name for them, according to what I'm reading under Othello on Wikipedia. So
okay,
there you go.
Okay.
Fun
you know.
facts. Oh, God.
We're all a little richer for that.
and what better way to segue from these real hard-hitting topics into what happens next, which is I get a mini game, a very, very elaborate mini game for doing a poo. This is how I get introduced to my character. The other characters outside are saying they need the king, and then we cut to...
See,
Yep.
I just need to interrupt really quickly
Yeah.
because like there's like we're like none of us are laughing right now, but I was holding back a laugh right then because true comedy was not the act itself in the game because that was just fucked, but you just summarizing it so succinctly and matter-of-factly, that's humor.
Okay.
Right there. That's the true humor. Like the guy telling Cartman to get off his fucking car.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that's great is when the kid's doing kid things.
Exactly.
When reality jumps back in for a second and you're reminded of the fact that, you know, this is reality and it's all fantasy in their heads and it's cute and it's nice.
Yeah.
And it would be great if there was more of that.
Yeah. And we'll see some more of that. But yes, you're totally right. So this mini game about me doing a poo is more elaborate than the hacking mini games that you would find in your average Batman game. Like
at the risk of seeming obsessed with this topic, Steve, how does it compare to the same thing in the Stick of Truth?
I'm trying to remember what it was in the Stick of Truth now. I think this is more elaborate. As I remember, the Stick of Truth was more of a golf system. So like a mash and like a timed button press. I don't recall. But here we have first the initial hacking mini game from Batman. Where you have to align both of the sticks, so like dial in, like tuning two radios at the same time, kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
And then you have to spin one of the sticks in an orbit to fill a meter, and then it instructs you to pinch it off by squeezing the sticks towards each other in the middle. And then the character grabs toilet paper from next to them, sort of lifts himself to one side, and then jumps off the toilet. And I get a celebratory ba-ba, and a plaque comes down from the top of the screen that has a turd emoji on it in a circle, like a shield, like an emblem, on a banner, and it says that I am the Deuce Master now. So, poopy jokes aside, this has done an excellent job of framing what this game is.
Right.
Because if you didn't enjoy the very, very elaborate, very juicy, if you'll pardon.
Yeah, well, when the word was coined, I
didn't have this in mind.
I don't imagine shit game was what they were thinking of.
If this has not appealed to you, then you already, I think, this is not for you.
Totally. It's a really good way to sort of, let you know from the outset, hey, if this isn't for you, switch off now.
Yeah, like we have given you recaps of the superhero episodes from South Park. If you didn't enjoy that, sorry, that's what we're doing. We've given you children having a war. We've given you some I'm using very big air quotes, some controversial comedy. For you to deal with. And now I've given you this thing, which is telling you how they're going to deal with like game tropes and the kind of humor that you can expect to encounter. So in terms of setting the expectations, I think this is excellent. Whether or not that's a thing you then want or not is a totally different question.
But here's the thing, right? I'm trying to imagine a person who goes, "Oh, a South Park game. Yeah, I'll play that." And then gets to this point and goes, "Oh, wait a minute, no."
That's a fair point. Like, I take your point.
Yeah.
It says South Park on the box, but it might have been enough. But I still think this is good in terms of telling you what you're in for.
For anybody who happens to stumble into this thing, I think it's doing a good job of saying right off the bat, like, this is what we are, this is what we're about. Regardless of, the content itself, this is what the content is going to be.
I think maybe we're splitting hairs here, but I guess my point is it sounds like this game is well and truly South Park, but I don't believe that the reason they're putting all of this up front is to go, if this isn't for you, go away, because that should come from the fact that it says South Park on the tin.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's totally valid. But I would say that sort of attitude permeates through everything that they do.
Right.
So I think the fact that they've made a point of not being anything other than themselves from the get-go is in itself part of that disclaimer.
I think it's that. Okay. I think there's also an element in their oeuvre of, if you don't like it, we want you to really not like it.
Right, okay. So the double down kind of factor.
Yeah.
Out to offend.
Yeah. So jumping back to the gameplay side for a second, though.
Sure.
I'm going to make some assumptions. Yep. But if you'll indulge me my assumptions.
Okay.
This is the first interactivity I've done with my character other than creating them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this has checked a bunch of things.
Yeah.
They know I know where the sticks are.
Yep.
They know that I know how to follow on-screen instructions with the sticks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a skill check, and they've done a dexterity check, which we can talk about more if you like. But this is a very complex range of motions I have to make, and it's asking me to do them rapidly so that I get better score.
Yep.
My assumption here is that this is the most dexterous I will ever need to be to play this game.
Right.
And I think that is also very cool for that to be right here.
Yep. And that, again, It's been a long time since I played the Stick of Truth, but I seem to recall feeling similarly about the pooping in that game.
Yep.
So here's a question then. If we're putting on our sort of talking about mechanics hat.
Yep.
Are you given any indication before or during this process as to what the stakes are or what the potential rewards or failures are? Or is it just ask you to perform the actions?
There's 3 stages to this minigame.
Yep.
And the middle one has a bar that you're filling up that is, from its design, it's like a thermometer.
Right.
So
the implication is that
the better
fuller
you're
is
doing.
better. Yeah.
Yep.
But is it telling you in any fashion what style of reward or in what form a reward or a benefit will come in, or how that relates to the rest of the game's mechanics?
No, it is unclear to me at this point if this is a thing that will translate into me getting a better sword or a better attack or anything.
Okay.
So other than it's a thing that I do.
Right. Did you feel compelled to do well at it?
Yes, but only because there was a bar that it was asking me to fill up that was
Right.
I assume was draining. I'd have to go double check the footage.
Right.
In like a mash X as fast as you can style mini game. In that sense, there was I understand how this meter works. I know what you want me to do, and I'm going to do it as well as I can to see if I can max this thing out. Right? It's like being the strongman thing. As I understand it,
Sorry, go
ahead.
on.
So I'll go. As I understand it, this is then the challenge of there are toilets all throughout the city, and you need to do a mini game in every single one of them.
Right.
My assumption is that mini game will change and will get harder as I progress. But I don't know if it will change.
When you're more dehydrated. I can make poo jokes too.
Your decision to try and do well at this was completely independent of any form of knowledge about rewards or penalties, and also completely independent of the fact that aesthetically you were taking a shit.
Like, yes, but in terms of like on-screen real estate, the UI that it is telling me what actions to do is far more prominent than my character.
Okay.
So I get this done. I get my reward of my plaque that I confirm with A.
Yep.
And my character jumps off the toilet and just kind of stands there. And now it's still kind of amazing that this looks like South Park. Like, I know that's not, like, it's not saying that it looks like a Star Wars film, but it's still kind of staggering that it looks like it's a shot from a South Park episode.
Yeah,
which is I think the significance of that comes from the fact that so often when we see video game adaptations of animated properties, the aesthetic is abstracted to fit the technology.
Yeah.
Whereas in this instance, it feels so much of the TV show. It feels like watching a TV show that you are literally controlling. Yeah.
Where compared to something like virtual reality, where you can go, oh, that's clearly Morty. But it never really looks like Morty because it's a 3D model.
3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, so I jump off the toilet and I immediately move left stick because I already had my fingers on the sticks, and my character moves around in the direction that I'm pointing.
Cool.
As I walk around this bathroom, the camera sort of pans with me along like its 2D plane. And as I walk in close to and in front of things that I can interact with, X to interact pops up at the bottom of the screen. I do this, and my character opens a drawer. Like a drawer opens like one frame of animation, and I've collected something. And a little pop-up in the right-hand side of the screen appears and tells me that I've added an item to my inventory. It has a name, but I'm unclear on what that does, if that's a thing that I will use later. Right. If these are just there are 20,000 collectibles in the world, go get all of them. Or if these are things that I use as materials for something later on.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So I'm in the bathroom, there's only one door. I exit out of the door and it goes to a cutscene where the camera pulls back like to the other side of this hallway. So I'm center frame behind these two characters that I assume are my mother and father. And they are arguing about being in South Park because you are the new kid. So you just moved here. And so they're arguing, and we have this the bit here that is potentially like drip feeding you something. Says, "We came here to hide. More friends just means more trouble." And then they argue about presumably his weed habit, because the mother says, "You're not the same. You're doing too much of that stuff." And he yells at her and says, "I just do it to relax. God." They realize that I'm there. They jump back into parent characters and go, "Oh, hi, honey, I didn't see you there," kind of thing, and go their separate ways.
I have a specific weed question.
Yes.
South Park is in Colorado?
Yes.
Marijuana is now legal in Colorado, as I understand it.
I believe that is correct, yes.
But that also
is that also the case in South Park world?
I imagine so.
Yes, there is an episode that's about that.
Okay, cool.
But the legalization doesn't stop an insensitive domestic abuse joke that has no bearing whatsoever on anything moving forward.
Yeah. I imagine it doesn't come up again. It does.
Oh, it does.
It does lead to... so as the characters walk away, I get control back. The camera moves to a more typical side-on. I walked up to the door that the father figure walked into, and you get another cutscene of presumably you looking through the keyhole, and you get him looking shifty, checking that no one's watching, and he pulls out I'm assuming, some edibles to chew on.
Okay.
And that's the end of my cutscene.
It's a rookie error. It takes way longer to ingest.
But maybe the smoke was harder to hide. I don't know.
That's
all about the long tail, Aaron.
That's true. That's true. You want the journey. Yeah. You want it to gradually ease in.
Maybe he also wants to put on some weight. Like
that's true. That's true.
Gonna bulk up. It's Colorado.
Sugar and 420.
Yep. Winter is coming, I hear. The next door down I walk into, it turns out to be my room, I'm assuming. It's very, very messy. There are props strewn across this landscape. There's a basket of dirty laundry. There's a goldfish. There's a cupboard. There's a glowing green sphere that I walk up to and activate. And it says, Game Sphere. And the TV behind it turns on. And it is now stuck downloading an update, presumably forever.
Right.
This I appreciated. But only because this is what happens whenever I turn on my Xbox. Just partially my fault. I don't turn the Xbox on very often. So there's always an update.
Yeah, but it's huge. It's always massive.
So I walked around the room. It didn't seem like it wanted me to be there. There was nothing that was jumping at me for my attention, so I leave the room again.
Right.
I go down the stairs. This has just been moving to the right. All of these things have just been moving to the right from where I started the game. So this is my standard video game logic of go to the right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I go down the stairs. This transitions. My character walks downstairs. I'm now in the living room. And I can hear muffled sobbing in the left side, which is where the kitchen is. So I walk in there, and the mother figure is like facing the sink, presumably sobbing. That's where the crying sound is coming from.
Yep.
And when you approach her, she turns to you when you interact, still sobbing, but tells you that, no, dear, your friends are at the front door. Go outside and play with them. I'm in a South Park game. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I don't know what I'd been playing recently that made me think that I'd be able to go and like have an interaction with this character.
Right.
Like talk to them about what was happening or try and console them or something. But
Night in the Woods, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know what it was that in that moment made me think that's what was going to happen. But when that isn't what happens, for better or worse, my internal barometer for what I do in this world is reset.
Okay.
So this interaction has trained me that characters are not here for me to have relationships with. They're here to deliver lines.
Right.
And so, like, this character's purpose right now is to get me to the tutorial. So that's all they are going to do. Right? So
and to perpetuate this domestic abuse joke.
Yeah, so they are the butt of this joke, and their purpose is to direct me to the tutorial. So I have a set now in my brain of what things that look like people are for.
Yep.
Right? They will probably have... I'm guessing now that they will have a couple of lines of dialogue to say to me, but that will always only be telling me where I need to go next.
Right.
Right? This isn't The Walking Dead or any Telltale game for that matter. Right? This isn't a game about me finding people to talk to and having relationships with them. And I know that now. So, good? I guess? I don't know.
Sure.
It has made a thing clear to me, was my point.
Yeah.
Mechanically sound, yes.
Yeah. So I walk to the front door, I go outside, the door opens, I get another short cutscene. Stan and Butters are there. Stan has a thorny crown on and a ice hockey stick.
Right.
And Butters is behind him. Looks like Butters is trying to be a mage, I think. Looks like he has magic gloves on.
Right.
They tell me, my liege, we have come for your help, etc. Sure. That cutscene ends. It cuts now to outside, looking at the house, which is a big red house. My character is on the steps. Stan and Butters have run off to the right a bit, so I'm still being asked to walk right. And on the left-hand side from my character's dead center, there is snowy pine forest on one side with a broken stop sign, and on the street there is a puddle where it looks like the children have propped up cutouts of sharks.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed the shark cutouts, but also
That sounds really sweet.
I know it is. I like it. There are also a lot of things on the left side that tell me not to go that way. So I did, but I don't. I have to go the other way. If you go left, Stan yells at you and says, "No, you have to come this way." Anyway.
Sorry, Steve. Just to clarify, just so no one yells at us, I think we might actually be referring to Kyle.
Oh, that's my bad. One of the other ones.
Yes, one of the 4 children.
Yep.
That you know.
Tells me I have to go with them, so I do. So as I walk to, there's sort of the huddle of the children fighting, and some of them have like fake orc ears on, and some of them have bike helmets with horns stuck into them.
Yep.
And as I approach them, a fight starts. And so this fight in the previous game was more like a Paper Mario or a Fire Emblem, or not a Fire Emblem, a Final Fantasy style setup, where you would choose a spell or an ability for a unit, it would perform it on a target, and you would kind of do that in alternating turns until someone had won. So this game has more. This game has a grid that you play on.
Right.
So it's telling me that I am the one fighting these 2 enemy kids. And so I'm starting on the left. There is one in the middle of the screen and one further over on the right. This is a grid that is a 3x5 grid, so 3 deep and 5 across. And it's my turn. And the reason I can tell it's my turn is because there's an area highlighted, like presumably the grids that I can walk on are highlighted with a sort of a blue tinge. Where the enemy is standing has a red tinge. That's sort of their grid that they're standing on. This is still from sort of a front-on perspective, so it still looks like a regular South Park scene.
Right.
So one of the things that's sort of odd here is you still have free-form movement. You're just locked within the grids that it's told you're allowed to walk around in. As opposed to it snapping, like you don't flick the stick to move across grids as I expected. You walk around them.
So you have free roam movement.
I have free roam movement. I just can't go outside the bounds.
Within limitations, yeah.
Right.
Which feels a little odd, but I mean, I'll get used to it. So they tell me to approach the first enemy, which is at the edge of my range of movement, and press X to attack. I do that. It then tells me I press A to confirm my attack, and it shows me that this attack will knock back this enemy. This enemy will actually get knocked backwards away from me 2 squares and will hit the other person standing behind them. And so I do this.
How many squares wide, like across the entire screen? Is it like 10? Is it like 2?
So it's 5. It's 5 that I can see, and that's currently taking up the entire screen.
Right, okay.
In my 10 minutes, I don't know if there are ever battlefields bigger than this.
Okay.
But right now it's 3 deep and 5 across.
Yep.
So I punch this, it does an animation, we get some puffy particle effects, a sort of a 3-hit combo thing, and they get knocked back, and they hit the other child.
Yep.
And then that plays out, we follow through. They get another attack, so then the enemy gets their turn. That enemy, when it's their turn, I can see all their highlights as well. So I can see where they can move when it's their turn. And they hit me back. In this case, they hit me with a sword, and I take some damage. It's then my turn again, and I do my only attack that I have again on this, and they get knocked back, but now there's no one there because the other enemy is gone. So that's great. I've done one attack. I've learned that I hit enemies and that I knock them back. I've learned that I have to move into certain ranges to be able to do so. The next setup is I then walk to the right 10 more meters, and there's another people to fight. So it teaches me that I get combat advantage. So if you attack your enemy in the overworld map, when the battle starts, you get your turn first. And so I get first turn advantage. It now tells me that I can look at that I have a different attack that's going to teach me now, which is an area. Sort of it hits an entire area rather than just the one cell in front of me and knocks them back.
Okay.
It also shows me that there's a lineup of enemies that I've now noticed on the other corner where I see all the portraits, presumably like left to right, what order they're going to attack in. So it wants me to use this secondary attack it's given me, which is mapped to Y. The previous one was mapped to X. It's actually got a little lock icon on the X attack, so it won't even let me use it right now. So underneath the little card in the bottom left for what kind of attack it is, it's also showing me like the grids that these attacks work in. And so this other attack hits an entire column in front of me when I use the attack. So this attack is a fart. So I position myself. When I select the attack, it shows me where it's going to hit. So it's going to hit a column in front of me. And so this battle has an enemy top mid, an enemy back 1 row, and then an enemy again bottom mid. So I'll line it up so I'll hit the 2 of them. The one that's back a row, back a column I can't hit with this attack. But so I can see that it's making me have to be aware of which columns and rows get hit by which things. So right now there is no way here for me to hit all 3 of them, only to hit 2 of them or to hit 1 of them. So I do the attack that will hit 2 of them. My character farts, and they get knocked back 1 row.
Okay. So you've been shown a couple of different attacks by now.
Yeah.
Is it making it clear to you how or why you might want to differentiate between them at this point?
So at this point, that is unclear. Because right now, it's just showing what the attacks are. Sure. It hasn't yet given me the opportunity for me to choose which one would make more sense. But it has constructed the battles that I'm doing in such a way that I can at least see what the benefit of them is. So like when the battlefield layout gets more complicated moving forward, you'll be able to recall upon that information and think, and a mega fart would be good here or whatever. Yeah, so I'm at least building the pattern recognition of when you see an enemy 2 columns behind an enemy, then a knockback attack is a good idea for your X attack. So when you see this pattern, this is the kind of attack that you want to use. The column fart attack is teaching me to it's constructed so that I have to optimize it, right? Do you want to hit 1 enemy or 2 enemies? the way that the enemies all then get their attacks on me, so they run up to me basically one by one, trying to get in range and hitting me with their street signs that they've sort of cut corners out of, so look like giant battle axes.
Yep.
And so they take attacks on me, and then it throws back to my turn. And so I try and find an angle where I can hit most of them with this fart attack. And this bit sort of made me stumble a little bit, is that this attack only works on columns. So like even though I can have my character face forward or backwards, it still only attacks a column left or a column right of you. It can't attack a row ahead or behind you.
Right.
So even though this battle looks like it's like a shrunk down, like Banner Saga, it doesn't operate that way. At least right now. The things that I have are still only left or right facing. They don't work in all four directions.
So my understanding here is that your sort of primary approach is that you're trying to use crowd control techniques to cluster enemies in patterns that you can take advantage of.
At this point, my assumption is that is either the thing that it'll start stressing me on, or if it was going to continue, it's at least about maximizing the number of enemies you can hit at any one point. I can see how this potentially could get to the point where you want to maneuver enemies around so that in the future they will be lined up in a certain way.
And there seems to be a disparity between your ability to move freely around to find a position that's optimal to you and how enemies remain static while you're moving.
It's a little. I suppose it's a little.
The part
odd.
that isn't clear to me is like it doesn't feel like a turn-based game, but it kind of is. But it's kind of like you're frozen time.
It's like one character takes the move. It's an odd. Trying to find a direct analogy to another game, I can't think of one that is entirely all of these bits. So the movement of like one character does all their stuff and then something else gets to move is like Banner Saga. And the fact that it's on a grid is kind of like Banner Saga. But the way that my attacks right now affect in columns kind of reminds me more of something like Darkest Dungeon than the grid-based layout of a tactics game.
Yeah.
So the layout that I then end up with after all these enemies have taken their attack means that I can see that if I had run backwards, like back towards where Butters and Kyle are, thank you for correcting me.
No worries.
I can attack someone, and I will be hopefully far enough away that one of the other enemies won't be able to reach me this turn.
Okay.
Because there'll be a wall of dudes in the way.
Right. So given that this kind of approach is not terribly orthodox in terms of this combination of movement, grid-based, time, freezy feel, do you think the game's trying to give you enough opportunity to wrap your head around that and figure out what are good things to do, what are bad things to do, what should you be ignoring, what should you be paying attention to? Like, is it doing any of those things? Is it doing it overtly? Is it just letting you marinate? Like, how's it working?
So I think the thing that the scenarios it's setting up allow me to do the pattern recognition of like, you see this pattern, therefore this is the right kind of attack to do.
Right.
But right now, I don't feel like I am being asked or necessarily being given enough information yet to know which move is more is of higher tactical or strategic value than any other.
Right.
I might get that later on. I feel like if I will, that's going to be intermediate or advanced play that they're not asking of me yet. And it's kind of an accident if I figure it out. It doesn't feel like that's what they want me to get here. What they want me to get here, I think, is that you have way more health than your enemies.
Right.
Because this is a 3-on-1 fight, and it's not a problem for my character. Because my buddies, Butters and Kyle, are just standing there like, you got it. He's the king.
Right.
So we finish all this. I get those other enemies by doing more attacks in a way that is smart, and I even did a knockback, and it was super cool. And they all fall over, and I keep going to the right, and I get a cutscene where the kids and my character run up to, I believe it's Cartman's front door, and there are 2 guards out front that say, you can't come in here. This area is all lava.
Okay.
And one of the other kids says, what's lava? And one of the guards points to the step, which is covered in red Lego bricks.
Okay.
And says, this whole area from here to here is lava. And then the children and my character go, oh, damn it. That's the kind of stuff that is always so great in South Park and in these games. Like the moments where you get to chuckle at the kids' shared imaginated innocent world.
Right.
But then the sophisticated the somewhat sophisticated language that they use to comment on that following.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the like when kids are just being kids is when South Park is really at its best.
Endearing doesn't feel like kind of the right word, but yeah.
The step isn't actually lava?
No, it's red Lego bricks.
Then why don't they just walk through them? I'm being a useful idiot right now.
You are, and outside of my 10 minutes, there's a joke for that.
Nice.
Because you can later walk back through this front door from inside to outside.
Right.
And when you walk on the red bricks,
Yeah.
puffs of flame and smoke come out and your character jumps back off them.
See, that's wonderful.
That's
that's so good.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a way of saying this is that there is a shared communal buy-in to the world logic from the characters, and that consistency, even though it's overtly kind of ridiculous, everyone follows those rules and doesn't question them.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And then the later literal burning is sort of representative of the fact that because this is a constructed digital experience, that shared buy-in and collective imagination can then actually be visually realized.
Yeah.
So there's only one more thing before my 10 minutes runs out. Which is those characters back away from that doorway, and the sort of the enemy team says, "Send out the dragon," and the garage door opens, and a big cardboard box that they've coloured in green on a red trolley rolls out into the driveway, and there's 2 kids in it with bows and arrows, and there's sort of a bad fake dragon head. And now
just
we're
like
in
Skyrim.
Yep, it's exactly like Skyrim. And so we are. This is a new battle, but this is a battle where I don't have first turn advantage. So I've been surprised by the enemy, so they get first attack.
Right. Yep.
And I'm also now, for the first time, fighting from the right side to the left. This is the first time I've ever done anything to the left so far.
Interesting.
So there's this dragon made of cardboard on the very left, and there's one regular child enemy in front of it.
Right.
So I approach and I knock back attack the child.
Yeah.
This knocks them back into the dragon, which I can see marked with little red arrows that'll hit the dragon. And so as it gets knocked back, it deals damage to the cardboard dragon when it hits it. It's in the dragon's turn, and this tells me that, watch out, don't end your turn in its fire. So this is another layer of the children's narrative. It's like not only do they all accept that red Lego bricks are lava, but they're aware that they're playing a turn-based fighting game. Like, they know they're playing a turn-based tactics game, and that's fine.
Yep.
Which I kind of love.
Yeah, can you imagine the literal representation of this? Of just each of them just standing there completely still while they wait for one of the group to walk around, walk up to one of them and smack them on the face. Yeah.
Like, I fully expect there to be a joke later where one of them is like, whoa, you don't have enough movement points for that. Like, I haven't had that yet, but that's the kind of thing I'm expecting, and I'm looking forward to it. So this thing where it tells me, watch out, don't stand in its fire, it puts a big red, cross-hatching through a bunch of the grid cells in the middle of the screen, like in the middle of the playfield.
Right.
Indicating that if the dragon's turn gets around again, these are the things where it will attack. So I back out of that by 1 cell, so I'm on the edge of it, and end my turn, so I don't actually attack anyone this turn. which means that the child not in the dragon runs up to me and hits me, but now they are standing in where the dragon is going to breathe fire. Ha-ha! Gotcha.
You
Not,
clever.
not,
clever,
not
clever.
taking them on a raid again.
No. So the dragon breathes its fire, which looks very, very real. So this child is now on fire and is out of health and runs off out of the battle. And then I get unlocked my ultimate attack, I guess. So it's on my next turn. I walk up to the dragon. I press B, and I do a super attack. But that doesn't happen yet, because the first thing that happens is actually, before I get to do that, when I start doing this in my turn, one of the children yells, "Car!"
What?
And the dramatic Lord of the Rings superhero music that's been playing just cuts instantly. And all the clanging battle axes and sword shield noises that have been happening just swap out for them like going... and the dragon gets wheeled back up the driveway and goes... And a black sedan drives past, stops in front of all of us, says, "Stay out of the street, you damn kids," and then drives off. And then all the children move back to where they were, and the dramatic music and sword clanging comes back in again.
Okay, that is genuinely tremendous.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So then I approach the dragon, I do my ultimate attack, where a giant magic golden jewel-encrusted hammer appears above my head. I hit the dragon with it. It deals 400 damage, and the dragon is destroyed.
What?
And that is my 10 minutes, or thereabouts.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we've kind of talked about a lot of the little bits that it teaches as we go.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that either of you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover on our journey?
I think the biggest question that I have in terms of how this thing plays.
Yep.
I don't have a sense of how frequently I would be in a battle versus not in a battle.
Yep. So this is something that I thought about too. So in this 10 minutes, I've had, I think, close to half in cutscene.
Yep.
Even though most of those cutscenes are less than a minute long.
Yeah.
Like it has a very good habit. Well, I think it's good. I don't have a good reason to back that up other than I like that I get to do things.
Right.
Of giving me a short snippet of South Park style cutscene animation, and then I move around the environment again, and then another one happens.
Right.
But about half of it is that. About half of it looks like it's just an episode of South Park that I'm just watching.
Okay. Yeah.
It seems to be very, very focused on ensuring that you're always being given a variety of activities to do with a very small amount of time in between those activities.
Right. Like, to put this in context, the reason I'm pondering this is due to my own play preferences and my own taste in what I enjoy playing. Because I played the Stick of Truth right up until the point where I just went, I don't like this combat, which I knew before I played the game. It's not the JRPG-ish sort of angle is just not something that I find myself enjoying when I play it.
Sure.
So for me, in terms of going, is this something that I want to continue engaging with? If there were less of the combat and more of the other stuff, that would be very different vibe to me in terms of persistence of playing than the other way around. Yeah.
I feel like that was
at the moment I don't have enough to gauge that.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like that was a common sentiment for a lot of people with the previous game as well, of even if they enjoyed the combat, of it becoming a point where I've figured this combat out. It's not presenting new challenges to me. As the game went on. I don't have a good sense in this 10 minutes of how complex this is going to get. However, the inkling I do have about its complexity is the grid is always the same size in what I've played so far. and my attacks are mapped to the face buttons. And it's already used all of them.
Yeah.
And I've already used all of them. So
Okay.
I can
So
assume
unless
that I will
Batman's it up.
Yeah, unless it's going to be like, don't worry, secret D-pad that unlocks 30 different gadgets. I imagine it's going to be a matter of each character has 3 different attacks, and it's a matter of you figuring out who is on your team, or maybe more generally, which characters are available to you to be on a team at any given time.
A team, you say, Steve?
I am assuming that I will eventually not be just me.
I was about to say that was kind of the only other point that I really had was that you've been soloing all of this, which I guess makes sense in terms of onboarding you to understand how things work with a minimal amount of complexity.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that if you're going to have party members added, there's a whole other layer of things that it's going to get to.
Yeah, I think this setup makes sense for that though, in that it has made me aware of the turn order.
Right.
So when my characters get slotted into that turn order, it's still then going to be a matter of how long until I can do a thing again.
Right.
I think at least in the early parts of the game, that will be enough for me to succeed.
Okay.
And I think as well, what it's demonstrating to you in those early moments is what you alone can handle, what you alone can take care of.
Yeah.
And then in later scenarios, you'll see that increase in size and complexity, and so in turn, will it then begin to introduce new members to your team and new ways of interacting with the player space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only other thing is a thematic thing.
Okay.
So, was there
Aaron,
any others?
I have one we can talk about, unless Aaron has something else.
I mean, okay, so that that Waypoint article that I mentioned earlier is titled "When I Visited South Park as a Trans Woman, the Joke Was on Me." That's written by Jennifer Uncle. So if you head to Waypoint, you can find that there. I very much recommend you read it.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So the only question that sort of I had that I thought might be worth discussing that we still had was the benefit, or what do we think the benefits are that South Park gets from me being a silent protagonist rather than one of the children that you would expect.
From just so I have a very, very quick small answer to that, and that is that this and the Stick of Truth both very much felt like the episodes of South Park where they decided to throw all sense of issues or hot topics for the week out the window and just focus on kids playing with their imaginations and each other out in the street. And so I think that by making you a silent protagonist, they're offering you in their minds, and this is all, hypothesizing here, but offering you the opportunity to be one of the gang as best as you can possibly be, and by you referring to you, the player, for you to feel like you are joining in on the childhood fun.
What I was going to say was that South Park has very strong character branding, and they don't want the players getting in the way of them being able to continue being brands.
Yeah.
Also an excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering that what we thought about that, because I think it would have been like the initial reaction would be, let's make a South Park game. Who should we play as? It's like, well, everyone was going to want to be Cartman, or everyone's going to want to be Butters or whatever.
Well, look, if you consider all of the staple South Park characters as spices on a spice rack, you want to be able to have as many of those spices to bounce back against whatever the player does as possible. Rather than being one of the spices and then not having it there at your disposal for the game to go, okay, so how would Stan react to that? Or which of these characters would give us the best joke? Oh, if Butters responds to this, we can lean into the brand of Butters, and that makes the joke land better, or whatever the case may be.
And I think like to build off of that, there's very much a sense that I got from Stick of Truth and from what I'm seeing of this, that these are products that are in reverence of South Park and of the South Park universe. And so similarly to, say, the 2011 Muppets movie, The reason that was a success was that because it was a film that was in reverence to the Muppets, and the best way to do that was to create an entirely new character that was able to bounce off of every other Muppets character with their love for them and their shtick, their joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not quite Fish Out of Water,
No.
and it's not quite The Straight Man,
No.
but it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the one other thing, and we've kind of already touched on it in the last couple of bits that we've just mentioned, was thematically, like this part of the 10-minute check. What is the game about? But because it's a South Park game, maybe you could rephrase it as what is this game pointing at but not commenting on?
Okay. I mean, I think for me, it looks like it wants to have it looks like it wants to have a poke at what I expect the tropes of my gameplay to be, while also reveling in them.
Right.
Which I think Stick of Truth definitely was as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at how bad this set of mechanics are when we overuse them. Also, we like them.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of like what is, I think, relating to like this tone or what the game is about, is I kind of was thinking along the lines of like, what does the game want from me?
Yeah.
Right. And so if you think about
money,
you got that. So it wants me to buy the new season of South Park on iTunes as well. But
yes.
In terms of like what does it ask of me to give it? In terms of you think about that as like what does Destiny want from me? Right. It wants me to get certain weapons to understand how to best use my abilities and how to use my environment and how to understand what enemies' pros and cons are. Whereas it feels like what this game wants from me is to chuckle. Like it wants me to be a person who is A-okay with South Park, wants more of it because they only make so many episodes a season, and to be able to move through the environment and chuckle at it. So I think I think that in 10 minutes, I think this game does a good job of not being exclusionary to people who aren't up on their South Park, but liked South Park, if that makes sense. I certainly think the game is exclusionary because you have to like this brand of comedy to get anything out of it at all, I think.
Yeah.
But in terms of, it doesn't feel like I have to have watched every episode ever to know what's going on.
Okay.
Because the things that I'm enjoying the most are those South Park bits where the children are being ripped from their fantasy world and then rapidly running back to it.
And that's not dependent on continuity or time.
And that works whenever. So even though I'm sure this game is also littered with references to things that people who aren't up to date on South Park won't know what's going on, I think ultimately those won't matter and won't ruin it for you.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, because, again, to put things in context, South Park is reasonably well known at having a very, very tight turnaround production schedule, which means that they can keep their fingers, air quotes, on the pulse in terms of contemporary topics.
Yep.
And clearly, this game isn't like that because it took an awful long time to make.
Yes.
That's right.
Which means that if you're looking to be contemporary and zeitgeisty, less likely to be a thing.
Yep.
And I mean, this is totally unsubstantiated, but I suspect the reason why it isn't topical is because it can't be.
Yeah.
Because it takes a very long time to make a video game.
Yes. Especially one that seems like it's quite long.
Well,
or at the very least,
to clarify, to clarify, for a brand that is known for being topical, if you tried to be topical and then you weren't because it took forever for the game to come out, it would feel off-brand.
Yeah, and that's the thing with South Park, the TV show, is that it's a very specific type of topical, and that it's topical in the week within which it's produced. Yeah. As opposed to something like, say, for instance, Wolfenstein 2, which is topical in terms of a broader cultural perspective.
Yes.
Yep. That isn't going to be out of the news in 3 days' time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. 10-minute
Right,
check.
so in terms of 10-minute check, I think we just did it, but what does the game want of me? And does it tell me how to do those things? Yes, I don't get a good... we've already talked about a number of things that we are assuming will happen,
Yeah.
like with relative certainty, but that we don't know necessarily. And a lot of the reason why we can assume that is because this is a sequel and because it is draped in certain tropes of genre.
Right.
So understanding the game genres that it's leaning on, you can extrapolate of what you expect to have happen.
Right.
So that I think that works in its favor now, regardless of whether that is what ends up happening or not, because you feel safe. In terms of how to play it, yes, the way that it tells me the buttons and the way it tells me what to do is clear. I did not notice as I was playing it, but I noticed watching back my footage that I didn't have to walk left unless I wanted to.
Yeah. The only thing that's really struck me, Steve, is that there hasn't really felt like there's a clear moment where the game has gone, no, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I haven't been necessarily punished for anything yet.
Yeah.
I haven't really been taught the consequences of failing in battle, because all the places where these battles are set up, I'm going to get hit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, and then they will hit you, but it's fine because you're way over leveled for them, or whatever the conceit is, right?
Yep.
So don't worry about it. Whereas presumably, eventually, that will be a problem.
Right.
Presumably, maybe it isn't, but presumably that will eventually be something that I need to understand that I don't yet. If I recall, outside of 10 minutes, I think that moment is about 5 to 10 minutes away.
Right. Okay.
Where a
does
bunch
this
of
mean
this
that
is
it's
going to get thrown out?
Does this mean that it's time for a song?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. So Springsteen got in touch. He's not the biggest South Park fan, but he is a Primus fan. So he's constructed something of a spirit.
Okay.
But yeah, enough preamble. Let's hit it. And I apologize. This recording that I have of Springsteen, he was quite fluey at the time, so bear with it. Well, I'm heading down to South Park, gonna leave my woes behind for copyright reasons. Ain't no more or a fine.
Nice. It does sound like Mr. Springsteen may possibly have a little bit of hay fever.
It's a little. I think Springsteen's got a little bit more than hay fever. But.
So just to let the listeners know, if there is an awful lot of coughing in this episode, we're very sorry. I have a cough. Aaron has a cough. Steve, what about you?
I'm not too bad.
Yeah. You have to try and catch up next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that means that it's time for...
You'll get your pollen storm next week, Steve.
Okay.
I think that means that it's time for...
Plugs.
The plugs.
All right, so thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to get in contact with us and let us know your thoughts, you could email us. The email address to get in contact would be contact@thefirst10minutes.com. You also can find us on many social medias. We are on Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Libsyn, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Patreon, Like-Minded, I remembered.
Whoa. Yeah.
And in all of those places, we are the first 10 minutes.
Indeed.
We'd love to hear from you. Hey, Aaron. If someone wanted to get in contact with you or to perhaps find something to read, got any ideas?
I can provide.
Excellent.
I do. You should read stuff on Waypoint. It's pretty good. However, if you would like to get in touch with things that I do, things that I make, and things that I write, You can get in touch with me on Twitter, where you'll actually be able to get in touch with me because I'm back. Woo! You can find me at Rundown Flamingo. RUNDOWNFLAMINGO. Similarly, if you would like to read some good essays on narrative design in video games, you can head to pushingb.com, or on Twitter you can find them at pushingb, for pushing buttons as the full name. Hey, Tony.
Yeah, I know the routine. If you want to get in touch with me, you can contact me personally on Twitter at Calinscald. That's KALINSKALD. I also do another podcast where I interview game developers about what they do, and you can find that at downloadablecontext.com. Hey, Steve.
Yep.
What about you?
Me Twitters is _ Steve Halliwell. That's there. That's me. Also, there's a website for that. It's stevehalliwell.com. And if you want to find... Or code with me if you want to live.
Hey.
And if...
That's the winner.
If you want some video content and you're not already aware, we have a YouTube channel where stuff goes up most days.
Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff to check out there. I strongly encourage you to do so.
Yep.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
That's the end of the episode.
I think this is how we end the episode normally, yeah. We just awkwardly go, are we done?
Very
until
good.
Until eventually we run out of recording space.
Like, you know what we could do? We could just keep talking and we could just do a fade out like when they don't know how to end a song.
Yep.
That's
or
true.
Alternatively, what we could do is I could say, so thank you all very much for listening and we'll catch you again next time.
I don't like this option.
Yeah, let's go with the fade out though. Bye.
Yeah, like let's
well, so we just keep talking awkwardly, and eventually it just slowly fades out, and you don't hear anything anymore.
So let's get heavy into Ragnarok spoilers, and here we go.
Let's